Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful tri-state area. Welcome to our 122nd episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now streaming 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. And you can always find us, of course, on our YouTube channel. We upload every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We have such a great show lined up for you today. Very exciting stuff. In our Disability Awareness segment brought to you by Navi Travel, we're featuring Marcela Marañón. At 20 years old, she survived a fatal car accident that killed her boyfriend and left her paralyzed. She's a powerful activist for disability inclusion, a woman well known for her solo traveling while utilizing a wheelchair. And in February of 2020, she became the first Latin disabled woman to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. She's a pioneer and advocate for exoskeleton technology. It's a technology that helps people with spinal cord injuries to walk again. She owns the Brave Woman Shot brand, where she donates funds to help underprivileged children and young adults with disabilities around the world. She's here today to chat disability awareness, defying all odds, her secret to remaining so positive, and her latest projects and plans. In our Healthy Minute segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, today we're featuring J.R. Martinez, an Army veteran, burn survivor, actor, motivational speaker, and New York Times best-selling author, and Dancing with the Star Season 13 winner. That's one impressive resume. He travels the world now spreading his message of resilience and optimism, and does it all with a smile. He joins me today to chat the power of positivity, disability awareness, and demystifying the stigmas surrounding facial differences. And of course, in our Innovation and Tech segment, we're featuring Brian Esposito, ranked among the world's top 10 CEOs, founder and CEO of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. It's an award-winning serial entrepreneur and business leader. And of course, EIE currently consists of a ton of entities, over 110, over 200 joint ventures that they've accumulated around the world and proudly operate. Today, he joins me in-house to chat innovation, music, sports, the metaverse, and the disruptive emerging industries making investors a ton of money. Stay tuned for Marcela Marañón, lifestyle humanitarian and wheelchair access advocate, first disabled Latin woman to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Don't move a muscle. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Nave, a members-only travel portal exclusively available through Organo, offering members steep discounts on nightly or weekly hotel stays, cruises, auto rentals, excursions, and so much more. With its travel getaway portal, Nave makes the days of surfing multiple travel sites and spending hours evaluating the best deals done with. That's because with Nave, you are guaranteed the best prices. Plus, to gain access to an even more expansive collection of condos, hotels, cruises, vacation villas, fantasy getaways, and concierge service, there's Forever Weeks. Simply purchase a Nave Forever Weeks package one time and enjoy the benefits many times. With Forever Weeks, forever means forever. Not only does Nave guarantee you the best prices, but it is also one of the few travel portals that pays a referral bonus, in addition to you earning rewards points, which can be redeemed on the Travel Getaway portal for further discounted hotel room rates. Become a member today and navigate the world of travel. Nave, the world for you to experience. For more information, go to nave.travel. That's nave, N-A-V-E.travel.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, in our Disability Awareness segment brought to you by Navi, today we're featuring Marcela Marañón. At 20 years old, she survived a fatal car accident that killed her boyfriend and left her paralyzed. She's a powerful activist for disability inclusion, a woman well known for her solo traveling while utilizing, you guessed it, a wheelchair. Now, in February of 2020, she became the first Latin disabled woman to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. She's a pioneer and advocate for exoskeleton technology. and a technology that you guys have probably heard about or not heard about, but I'm going to appease you. It's a technology that helps people with spinal cord injuries to walk again. She owns the Brave Woman Shop brand, where she donates funds to help underprivileged children and young adults with disabilities around the world. Now, through her journey of a Brave Woman brand and very large social media following, she teaches others how they can access the world's most amazing places as well as their own communities more accessibly. Marcella is a mom, an advocate, a businesswoman, and a mentor. She currently resides in Dallas, Texas with her incredible daughter, Michaela. She's traveled all the way to New York City today to chat with me, and she's here to really talk about disability awareness, defying all odds, her secret to remaining so positive, and of course, her latest projects and plans. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Marcella Marañón. Welcome, superstar.
Thank you so much for having me in your show, Sen.
Absolutely. You are so inspirational and so full of life. Thank you for being you and spreading so much positivity and helping others. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get to it. Despite all the reasons you could have chosen to give up, you are the brightest light. Walk me through when you first realized you would never walk again.
Well, when I was told that I will never walk again, I was 20 years old, and it was a very hard moment of my life because I grew up with no disability. I didn't know much about living a life with a disability, and it was like a big crash. But I was able to adapt and move on and, focus on what I want to do. And after so many years my disability is a part of me, but it is not who I am as a person. So my disability doesn't define me. I am the one that, I lead my life 100% with my disability.
You are so inspirational because when you think about the limitations that a wheelchair could put on somebody, it's excessive. And it's currently estimated that approximately 132 million people, to put that into perspective for those listening, that's about 2% of the global population, actually require a wheelchair. And the statistics might be even more. This is just what we have recorded. Now, as Charles Lindbergh said, success is not measured by what a man accomplishes, but by the opposition he has encountered and the courage with which he has maintained the struggle against overwhelming odds. And that is success. And that is what you did. Now, you are a powerful activist for disability inclusion, well known for your solo traveling, utilizing your wheelchair. And I'm going to reiterate this. In February of 2020, you became the first disabled Latin woman to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And those of you listening, again, Mount Kilimanjaro, for those of you not aware, is a dormant volcano located in Kilimanjaro region of Tanzania. And it has 3 volcanic cones, Kibo, Mawenzi, and Shira. And it's the highest mountain in Africa and the highest single freestanding mountain above sea level in the world. Now, Marcella, what inspired you to take on the challenge of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? And how did you prepare yourself physically and mentally for the climb?
Well, okay, so this is a question that many people ask me. How do you feel about it? And I climbed this mountain in 2020, and I still cannot express how I feel. I think it is incredible to be able to get to one of the tallest mountains in Africa in my wheelchair. But I just want to say that I didn't do this accomplishment alone. I had a group of people that traveled with me. I climbed it with 3 other disabled people, and I feel like sometimes when we want to achieve something like a goal, it takes a village. And this is this climbing was to send a message to the world that the world is better when it's accessible for all. So, and that was like my goal when I got there. That was the purpose. I mean, I had to prepare physically. I mean, I had to work out a lot. Mentally, I am very strong, so I didn't have to. I didn't have a hard time with that. But I think that the hardest part of me climbing the mountain is give up my independence sometimes, because there were parts of the mountain that were so steep, and I needed my porters and my guides to help me with the wheelchair. And sometimes I feel like, no, I wish I can do this, myself, but it was very hard, so I had to give up this. And also, the lesson that I learned is that to learn to trust people, and that's what one of the things that I learned. I learned
How to
trust
put your
people.
trust in the people around you. Yes.
Yes. And also, one of the things is like when we all work together, we can.
It takes a village.
It takes a village.
And it's
yeah.
interesting because it's your Peruvian background. It takes, that strong will to succeed, and also sticking together in your Peruvian culture. That it takes a village motto goes a very long way, because that's how things are done in Peru. It takes a village, and you have that mentality, and you've done it, and you've carried through, and you have done an incredible job and made a lot of people proud. Now, given the unique challenges you face, what advice would you give to other disabled individuals, regardless of their background, who aspire to take on extraordinary challenges?
I will say that to do not give up, to do not stop, and to find the strength to do what they want, what they feel, to pursue their dreams. I mean, I know that we live in a world where we feel excluded. We are, it's not. We don't live in. We live in a world where people with disabilities are not being seen much. And if we are seen, we are being seen as a burden. Like if our life was misery and bad luck. But no, I mean, we are extraordinary people like everyone else, who have dreams, who work very hard, who have families, who raise amazing children. And I think that, despite of the challenges we go through, I think that we need to keep going and use our voices to make a difference for future generations. Because if we get stuck and we stay on a stage where, well, nothing is going to change, the world doesn't accept us, we will never do anything. We will never accomplish anything. But my advice is just to keep moving forward, to grieve, to cry as much as they want, and once they're done with that, go
to trek through.
Yes.
Now, it's true, because the tests we face in life's journey are not to reveal our weaknesses, but to help us discover our inner strengths.
Yeah.
And we can only know how strong we are when we strive and thrive beyond the challenges we face.
Yes.
And all the energy in the universe is evenly present in all places at the same time. We don't get energy. We, in fact, release energy. And the triggering mechanism to release energy is desire. When you have strong desire to do something, you will always have the energy to do it. And that's what you've done. Now, you're a huge proponent of exoskeleton technology, a powered exoskeleton, also known as powered armor or powered suit, or for those of you out there listening, augmented mobility, is a mobile machine that is basically wearable, powered by a system of motors and hydraulics that delivers part of the energy for limb movement. Tell me about your involvement with this tech. I know you've been testing this out since 2017, and what you're hoping to accomplish.
Well, I've been testing this technology since 2011.
Oh, my bad.
And
I thought 17.
Yeah, and I got my own unit in 2014. So this is a mobility device that allows me to stand, walk, climb stairs. But for me, it's more than walking. I am very happy in my wheelchair, but I need this technology to reduce the secondary health issues of my injury. So I think that this is a very important technology that needs to be supported, because there are a lot of people with a spinal cord injury that would like to walk and use this technology, but it's not accessible because the insurance company do not want to pay for it. There is a lot of medical data that shows that It reduces, health problems for spinal cord injury people, but they still don't want to pay for it. So I hope that this technology that I try to promote a lot in social media is reachable for those who really want that technology.
It's extremely important. I know there's a lot of different technologies out there. Rewalk is one of them. But basically what you're describing is a wearable robotic exoskeleton that provides powered hip and knee motion to enable individuals with spinal cord injury to stand upright, walk, turn, and limb and climb and descend stairs, so to speak. But there's a few of them that are out there. I think one of the first exoskeleton to receive FDA clearance for personal and rehabilitation use in the United States may have been, in fact, Rewalk.
Yes,
I'm not
Rewalk
sure.
is the leading exoskeleton device.
Yeah.
And now yesterday, actually, I was with this is like a fresh new technology from France that just moved to New Jersey. And this exoskeleton is amazing because it will not only change the life of people with spinal cord injuries, but also will, do a stroke patients or any other disabilities. So I was
game changer.
Yeah, it's a game changer. So I was here, filming with them a campaign. So I can promote it. I love exoskeleton technology. And like I say, it's more than walking. It's about, reducing
the
the
health
pain.
risks.
And yes.
And it's funny because with artificial intelligence, it's a hot topic. And especially if you look at, it's like you said, a game changer for people with disabilities in terms of secondary health, proactiveness. But people with all types of disabilities, especially travel limiting disabilities, because there's approximately 26 million Americans aged 5 and older that have self-reported travel limiting disabilities. It's about 14 million are aged 18 to 64 and about 11 million are aged 65 and older. So we have staggering numbers, but in fact, over 3.5 million Americans with travel limiting disabilities do not leave their homes because they are disabled or housebound. And imagine that, where you are sitting there telling me your biggest love and joy is to get out there and travel and see the world.
Yeah.
And yet we have millions of Americans who just can't afford it because of their disability. Now, how do you envision your achievement inspiring and empowering future generations of people with disabilities?
Well, before I ask that question, I just want to say that, if we don't get out of home, it's because most of us don't want to deal with the inaccessibility in places, okay? And we really, live in a world where we are excluded. In U.S. is one of the number one countries in the world, so I'm very privileged to live here and don't deal with that. But I mean, if you go to other countries, just you explore in a wheelchair, it's very difficult, and you can see like the culture do not accept people with disabilities and do not worry and do not want to do any changes to improve their quality of life. Also, we have to, like on traveling to, the airlines do not treat us well.
Yep.
So they break our wheelchairs. They do not give us the customer service that we deserve. And I don't understand why, because we also paid our ticket like everyone else. And it's a headache dealing with airlines. So many people, would love to travel the world, would love to do so many things, but it feels like, some of them feel stuck because they don't want their wheelchair to be damaged.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to a restaurant.
Listening, airlines out there, JetBlue,
Yes.
United, all of you out there, please make sure you have disability inclusion as part of your top priority. Now, what current projects are you working on? Because I want to be mindful of the time.
Okay, so I am working, my project is in Tanzania. My friend Teresa, who is a doctor in Germany, and we want to build a recovery center for children with birth defects. And it's going to be amazing because this is a place where children will get, aftercare. They're going to receive educational advice on how to live with a disability. Also, it's going to be a place where the parents with these children can be educated on how to take care of them. And most of these kids have spina bifida and hydrocephalus. And I was there last time, I was a month ago, or a month and a half ago, and I was able to interact with the families and meet the children and really see what they need. And I am working on this project where I can help fundraise the money so we can build this for these kids.
Beautiful. Do we have a website? Do we have a name?
Yeah, well, I'm going to release everything in August. So actually the Brave Woman shop, my brand is my merch brand. It's a very simple brand. And what I do is that every t-shirt that I sell, that money goes into helping a project in some part of the world. So during the pandemic, my brand donated, a lot of food for families with children with disabilities. I also donated ramps in India and donated wheelchairs for kids in Tanzania. So my brand is like, it's 100%. This is how I give back to my community for all the blessings I have. So you
are blessed and you are beautiful.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming on. This was an incredible interview. You are so inspirational. I want to get out there now and climb a mountain because of you. But thank you for coming on.
It's very life-changing.
I believe you. I see you. Now, listen, guys, you definitely have to check out Marcela. She's incredible and nothing is impossible. The world itself says, I'm possible. And if you look at Audrey Hepburn's quote, you can literally spell it out for yourself. I'm possible. It's not impossible. Remember, if you can find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. Most paths have a lot of obstacles. And more importantly, that was our disability awareness segment brought to you by Navi featuring Marcela Marañón. Definitely check her out at the Journey of a Brave Woman. That's her Instagram handle. You can also go directly to the brand at the Brave Woman Shop. Definitely check her out. She's the first Latin disabled woman to have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Neve, a members-only travel portal exclusively available through Organo, offering members steep discounts on nightly or weekly hotel stays, cruises, auto rentals, excursions, and so much more. With its travel getaway portal, Neve makes the days of surfing multiple travel sites and spending hours evaluating the best deals done with. That's because with Neve, you are guaranteed the best prices. Plus, to gain access to an even more expansive collection of condos, hotels, cruises, vacation villas, fantasy getaways, and concierge service, there's Forever Weeks. Simply purchase a Neve Forever Weeks package one time and enjoy the benefits many times. With Forever Weeks, forever means forever. Not only does Neve guarantee you the best prices, but it is also one of the few travel portals that pays a referral bonus, in addition to you earning rewards points, which can be redeemed on the Travel Getaway portal for further discounted hotel room rates. Become a member today and navigate the world of travel. Nave, the world for you to experience. For more information, go to nave.travel. That's nave, Nave.travel.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, in our Healthy Minutes segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, today we're featuring J.R. Martinez, an Army veteran, burn survivor, actor, motivational speaker, New York Times best-selling author, and Dancing with the Stars Season 13 winner. That is one impressive resume. JR now travels the world, spreading his message of resilience and optimism, and does it all with a smile. Today, he joins me to chat the power of positivity, disability awareness, and demystifying the stigmas surrounding facial differences. Now, having a facial difference can impede the basic functions one needs to survive and grow, and those affected often experience social isolation or even bullying. In the US alone, 1 in 700 children is born with an orofacial cleft, and 1 in 1,600 is born with facial asymmetry, a missing ear, a jaw deformity, or a defect of the skull, nerves, or even facial bones. Furthermore, each year in the United States, 1.1 million burn injuries require medical attention. Approximately 4,500 of these people die. Up to 10,000 people in the US die every year of burn-related infections. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing J.R. Martinez. Welcome, superstar.
Oh man, thank you for that introduction. It's like, how can I record that and essentially use that and put it on loop every time that I just walk through my house when I wake up in the morning? That was a bad introduction. I don't know if I can say that. Sorry. But thank you for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. And I just want to say, one of the two things that I want to quickly just touch on is thank you for saying burn survivor. A lot of people say burn victim, and us in the burn survivor community, we always refer to ourselves as survivors. The moment that things happen to us, we're victims. Every moment beyond that we're alive, no matter how we're living, we're still alive and we're trying to live. We're working towards getting back to that place. We're survivors now. Then the second thing is, there's a couple of things that I recently encountered when you talk about, the sort of the facial disfigurement or the facial scarring. And I recently ran into a couple of people where there was one lady that had not served in the military, had not been in the same circumstance that I have, but connected with me and my story because she was in a car accident. And now she's had to have facial surgeries and is this ongoing process that she's constantly navigating. And so she connected with me. And then a friend of mine here where I live in Austin, was talking to me about a friend that was just kind of burning some stuff in a pit outside and just kind of threw a little too much on it and got second-degree burns. And so the reason I bring all that up is that you never know when you all of a sudden find yourself part of any community. And so it's important to just be receptive and open to the stories and the individuals that are a part of those communities, just because you just never know.
You just never know.
And I'm not wishing anything negative. I'm not asking people to live in fear and to think that, oh my God, today something can happen. No, what it should do is make us be that much more grateful for what we do have, and that much more appreciative for the people that are out there that are doing it and representing and letting us know that at the end of the day, no matter what we're going through, there's other people going through it just like us.
You said it. Amen. So now let's walk the audience back. In 2003, you sustained severe burns to over 34% of your body while serving as an Army infantryman in Iraq. And since your recovery, you've traveled around the country speaking about your experiences to veteran groups, schools, corporations. Can you tell the circumstances that led to your burn injuries and what were the most significant challenges you faced during your recovery and rehab process?
Yeah, thank you. So on the 5th of April of 2003, obviously this is early on in the war in Iraq, and we were patrolling through a southern part of Karbala, and we were essentially given a task that we had to go to another part of the area to secure this area. And I was the driver of the Humvee. There was 3 other troops in the vehicle with me, and I always tell people when you're away from freedom and family and friends, the thing that kind of fills that void is humor. And we found ourselves, just kind of clowning, just passing the time, and just kind of allowing moments to go by. And all of a sudden my front left tire ran over a roadside bomb. Immediately the other 3 troops were thrown out of the vehicle. They all walked away with minor physical injuries. I was trapped inside, and I was completely conscious for the next 5 minutes while this Humvee was engulfed in flames. And my team couldn't come and pull me out any sooner because we had ammo in the Humvee, and of course with the heat it was just shooting rounds off everywhere. And so war is a game of numbers, and as much as you want to save one of your own, and in this case me, you also can't jeopardize 2 or 3 or 4 other people. And so they had to wait for things to kind of cool down and for them to set up a perimeter and figure it out. By that time, like I said, it had been 5 minutes, and listen, I was screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs. I was in pain. I literally thought I was going to die numerous times over the course of those 5 minutes. And like anybody that has had a similar experience will tell you, time slows down, and you have nothing but time but to process and think about and everything that you were experiencing in that moment, what your life will not become, what you wish you would have done, the people you love, the people you miss, all those things. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, I was pulled out of the Humvee. I was put into, taken to a local medic station set up in Iraq, where I was put into a medical-induced coma. From there, I was taken to Landstuhl, Germany, went into emergency surgery when I got there. And then they brought me back to the United States, and I went to the burn center for the military, which is in San Antonio, Texas. And I was 19 years old when this happened. And as anybody that is listening right now that you can recall, when you were 19 years old, you're still trying to figure out who you are, what you are. A key word that people like to use is identity. What's your identity, who you are? and where do you fit in your world, whatever your world may be, your city, your town, your state, this country, the world, etc. And I was no different. And I came out of my coma 3 weeks later, and I saw my face and my body, and as you can imagine, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know that individual. Because the individual that I knew, I relied on my looks, I relied on my physical appearance. That was what I had my entire youth. No one ever came up to me and said, you have an amazing personality. Like, everyone was like, oh, you're handsome, you're cute. Well, that's the kind of stuff you throw around these days. And that
And
was
then
a
that was all
challenge.
gone, literally.
And
And
it
you
was
had to
literally
start
all
from
gone. I mean, I
scratch.
was a completely brand new person and didn't recognize that individual in the mirror. And I mean, what people are seeing now is very different than what I was 20 years ago. And then also too, I
And
asked the
what
question.
role did your military training and experience play in shaping your mindset during your recovery?
None of it. No, I mean,
None of it?
honestly, I mean, at that point, at that early in the process,
It
you are
was
thinking you are 100% in the victim space. 100%, you are the only one. You cannot think clearly. You are not thinking logically. You are not thinking that there's possibly something positive going to come out of this. And that process, for me at least, I know there's some other people that, immediately are able to turn that switch. But I didn't have the extensive amount of military training. Listen, I joined in September of 2002. Um, I was deployed in March of 2003, and I was injured in April. I mean,
no,
that's
yeah.
7 months. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of military training behind me. And so, needless to say, like, but one of the things that was instilled in me in that short amount of time was this concept of service, of being a part of the military. I loved it. And like every other service member that has been injured, I asked my doctor the question, when can I get out of the hospital? When can I recover? When can I go back? And that's when he told me that I was not going to be allowed to stay in the United States Army because of the injuries. Now, that was more of like believe it or not, the final punch that I took. That to me, it was like, you're taking away both of my identities, meaning the
Oh,
physical
yeah.
identity that I have, and also the identity of being in the military, being of service, being in uniform.
Yeah,
And
that must have really been jarring. Now, we have 6 minutes. I wanna get through this because this
for
is like a
sure.
double segment. Now, I wanna point out your acting career, so I'm gonna fast forward to
Mhm.
2008. You were cast on ABC's daytime drama, All My Children, and your character also served in the army in Iraq and was injured in
Yeah.
combat, and then you appeared on the season 6 finale of Army Wives as a physical therapist treating injured vets, so you were able to relate to that character, and in 2013, you began on the syndicated SAF 3, portraying a Los Angeles County firefighter paramedic. And then you went on to Dancing with the Stars. Now, that was epic. And of course, you won. How did your experiences as, of course, a burn victim influence your Hollywood career? And how do you really cope with any underlying physical or emotional difficulties that resulted from those injuries while you're in front of the camera?
Well, I got to tell you, I was incredibly blessed that all of those opportunities were willing to incorporate a lot of my real life experiences, and that made it real. So in some cases, I really wasn't acting; I was just telling the story of myself and a lot of people that
Identity.
identity. I was essentially telling the story of all of us, and so I was allowed to authentically just kind of be myself. I just had to figure out how to really act it out. Meanwhile, I had been living it my entire life up until that point, and so listen, I think, a lot of what I've been through has prepared me for those big stage entertainment opportunities as a speaker now, when I'm in front of audiences, when I'm in public and people are looking at me. I think you develop this ability to where you have to say to yourself, if I give the power to every single individual that looks at me and does a double take and, stares at me and never comes up to me and asks me what happened or what's your name or hello, they just want to stare at me from a distance and pretend that I don't see them. What that does, what I've learned over this injury is that I learned how to take the power back from those situations. I learned how to dictate the conversation. I understand, like, if someone's staring at me, I'm going to approach that individual because it's like, you're making me feel very uncomfortable and you're making me even more self-aware about the things that I am carrying on my body.
Yeah,
So I'm just going to go up to that individual, take the power back, and I'm going to say, hi, how are you doing today? What's your name? And
exactly.
literally, and when you do that, people are like, oh, hi, my name is, and you start a conversation.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, however long that conversation lasts, you end it. You never touched on what happened to you. You never touched on what's life like. You never touched on how did you overcome it. You touched on, you connected as a person. You connected as a husband. You connected as a parent. You connected as a entrepreneur. You connected as a lover of coffee because you're in a coffee shop waiting in line. Like, that's
Yeah.
what you connect on. And so for me, I really try to take that power away from those external, energies that try to dictate how my day is going to go. Because if I allow them to essentially have that power, I would be I would be controlled and my
diminished.
energy would
Yeah,
be dictated, and
yeah,
I would just be triggered every time I step outside of my house. And so
true.
for me, I
And
was like, I'm taking control.
you are, and that's what I love about you, because you are the definition of how success is not measured by what a man accomplishes, but by the opposition he has encountered and the courage with which he has maintained the struggle against overwhelming odds, and that's what you
Yeah.
did. Now, how do you maintain a positive outlook and continue to inspire others despite all the challenges that you faced?
Listen, I'm going to tell you one thing I did not touch on. I think it's important to touch on is obviously the physical recovery was incredibly difficult, but the most difficult part of the recovery process for me was mental, was emotional. Was it wasn't easy, and it didn't immediately happen when I got out of the army at 22 years old and I went into the civilian world, as we refer to it, and I just was like, I'm happy, I'm positive. No, I put on a front. And but behind closed doors, I was unhappy, I was depressed, I was drinking a lot. I was not in the best place in life, and it my life really changed when I finally understood what it meant to be vulnerable, and I found the right people that I could be vulnerable with. That's when my life really changed. But to your question, as far as like how do I stay positive? Listen, I practice positivity daily. I mean, it is not something that I just wake up and I'm just like, here we go, it's gonna be a great day. No, like I'm a human being, and there are things that try to beat me down every single day, like all of us. The biggest thing that I try to focus on, and the thing that keeps me in that space of being positive most of the time, is people say never look back. Well, I tend to look back. I look back every now and then because I look at a situation that I overcame before. I look at a situation that I didn't think was going to work itself out, and it did. I think about everything that I've endured, everything that I've overcome. And so what I do is I apply that to this very scenario where things aren't necessarily going my way. And I can sit here and say, you know what? But you're good. You're good. Just stay with it. Just trust. Also, too, listen, I'm not going to sit here in front. I pull energy from you and people out there in the world that have incredible stories, incredible experiences. This isn't a thing that I can navigate by myself. I am being motivated by people that are out there in the world that are sharing their stories with all of us. And I see that and I'm just like, life is beautiful. And the biggest thing I keep telling myself, no matter what it is that I'm going through from a career standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, from whatever you name it, I always say to myself, this isn't it. This isn't it. And that was one of the biggest things I told myself when I was 19 years old after I saw and understood the severity of my injury. Is I kept saying to myself, this isn't it. This can't be it. There is more to life. This isn't where I'm going to be placed and be stuck. And 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 because I just believed that, and I just kept paying attention to different things out there in the world and things that people would perceive as coincidences, yet I don't perceive them as coincidences. I believe that that's a sign. There's a direction there. For me, I think it's what's led me to get to this point, and I think it's what's going to allow me to continue to succeed. And so I think
And you know
for
what?
anybody
What's interesting?
listening,
This is the perfect part. Beauty is really, this is what we talk about. Beauty is having a beautiful soul, what you do,
yeah,
that manifests on the outside. And the most beautiful people I've met really are those with scars. I mean,
yeah,
be confident, be
listen, I
strong,
love
be
my scars,
proud of the
man.
skin you're in.
I
Never forget
love
to
my
smile.
scars.
Yeah.
My scars tell a story. They tell you that I've been through something, but they're telling you that I'm still going through something, but they're also telling you that I'm willing to show up every single day. And so whatever that scar may be, whatever caused that scar, doesn't matter. Own it, embrace it. Like who cares if somebody, because if you're worried about somebody else and like, oh, how are they going to perceive that? Let me tell you something. That individual either has a bunch of scars that they don't want to show because they're not completely comfortable yet, but like everybody has it. And here's the crazy thing, and I know you
Hold
probably
on,
can't
hold that
go
thought, because
for
I'm
it.
going to
Go
come
for it.
back in extended segment because we've run out of time here on live radio. But I just want to direct
I
people to your
told you I
social
talk
media.
a lot.
I know we're going to direct people to your social media handle, but we will come back for extended segment. And guys, if you want to hear more of what we're talking about, you can also check out the extended segment on the YouTube channel, of course, and on OTT and OTA. But definitely check him out. J.R. Martinez, Army vet, burn survivor, actor, motivational speaker, New York Times bestselling author, and of course, Dancing with the Stars season 13 winner. Check him out on the gram at I am J.R. Martinez. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Welcoming now back to the show in our Healthy Minutes segment, brought to you by Bice Cucina, is our dear friend J.R. Martinez, Army vet, burn survivor, actor, motivational speaker, New York Times bestselling author, and Dancing with the Stars season 13 winner. Welcome back, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It really is a great conversation.
Absolutely. So let's pick it up here. We're talking about some of the experiences and advice you have for others who may be facing challenging situations or dealing with adversity in their life. And we were on a heavy conversation about some of the most memorable and impactful responses you've received from audiences during your motivational speaking engagements. Can you tell me some about those?
I think, I alluded to a little bit about the vulnerability, and that's when my life really changed. And when I first started speaking in my early 20s, I really had this motivation to want to be this big speaker. And I felt like I had a story, and I felt like the people could relate to me. And yet I wasn't really given the opportunities. And people were putting me in boxes and essentially saying, "You're a veteran. Why don't you stay in the military space?" And that was disheartening, to be completely honest with you. And all that did was trigger me, because that was just rejection, and that was a whole underlining of like emotional things that I hadn't dealt with from my childhood and my early 20s. And all of what was doing was triggering me and bringing all those things, emotions, to the surface. But when I look back at my early stages of my speaking career, I realized the reason why I wasn't having the outcome and the opportunities presented to me the way that I wanted was because I wasn't really necessarily being vulnerable. I was essentially hiding behind this shield of, I'm a veteran, I served in the military, and people would throw out the word hero a lot. And I was just sort of hiding behind that. And I wouldn't really expand on the challenges and the issues that I was experiencing on a day-to-day, honestly. And when I finally started to open up is when I finally started to really connect with audiences now, where I'm completely transparent with a bunch of strangers. I mean, a lot of them are strangers to me. I mean, they may be familiar with me, but I'm not familiar with them, most of them. And I'm willing to just go out there and say, listen, this is who I am. But how did I get to that point? I got to that point because I started doing it on a smaller scale. And the more that I kept doing it, I started to realize, oh, people don't knock you down. They hug you. They embrace you. They build community around you, and they say, it's okay. I can relate to that. And so I just continued to just extract a little bit more and show a little bit more vulnerability. And it just eventually got to a point where, I get people to come up to me all the time and just, listen, somebody will come up to me at the grocery store with my family not too long ago. And as an older man, as I'm walking out the store, he's standing there at the doorway, and he looks at me and he says, and I could tell you almost wanted to say something to me. But I was the first one to actually engage. And I said, "How are you doing today?" And he looked at me and he said, "I want to tell you something." He said, I recently experienced this leg injury. And he looked down at his leg, and I see his legs all bandaged up. And he said, "This is my first time coming out." And I was walking around, and then I said, "I can't be in this store. I got to go home." And he said, "Then I saw you, and I saw you smiling, and I saw you carrying on. And I thought to myself, well, if he can do it, why can't I?" And I said, "Oh, that's great, man. That's awesome." And he said, "Don't get me wrong. I'm still going home." He's like, "But I just wanted to share that with you." And I said to him, I said, "Listen, give yourself grace. That's the one thing we're not conditioned and taught that we can do. Most of us don't even understand what that really even means. Like, give yourself grace, because we're so conditioned that you got to have everything now. You got to have it all figured out now. You got to have a plan right now. But yet we're never we're never taught to adapt. We're never taught to, be open to other opportunities. Like, we're taught to write out your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. And if you're not there, oh, you failed, right? Now people are starting to talk about the journey. And that's great. But I said to him, I said, give yourself grace, man. Like, it takes time.
Yeah.
Like, it took
Have
a
you
long time for me to
encountered
get to this point. And so I find myself having those types of interactions pretty frequently.
Yeah.
all it does is just remind me that I'm on the right path.
Well, you are for sure on the right path, and you are, you are in control of your own destiny. But have you encountered any misconceptions or stereotypes about burn victims? And how do you really address that in your speeches?
Yeah, honestly, I think not I wouldn't say necessarily. I think I think what for my speeches for me are, I try to extract, like if I'm talking whatever group I'm talking to, I try to extract, okay, this is an experience that I happened. Well, what does that experience really mean? And I spent a great deal of time customizing each speech for each group, because everyone's trying to accomplish something completely different. But I just kind of lean into it, and I just kind of tell people what my reality was, what my story was, and I just try to tie everything together, so the audiences that have never experienced what I've experienced, but they're a bunch of ITs or HR professionals, or medical professionals, obviously will relate to some degree. But I just try to get it, get on stage and just kind of be authentically who I am and tell my story. And I haven't really experienced anything. I mean, listen, yeah, I was telling someone the other day, I was actually laughing about a couple of comments that I got, like on my YouTube channel, about a couple videos. And this is the stuff that when you put yourself out into the world, you got to understand that there's going to be a few people out there that are just intentionally just trying to, like, sort of poke. And one guy commented, I'm assuming it's a guy, but somebody commented at one of the videos saying, "Why would you listen to anybody that has 1.5 eyebrows?" And
It's
I
terrible.
read that and I was like, that's funny. Like, I mean, yeah, that's funny. I mean, why do I have 1.5 eyebrows? Like, this half that I have, like, my plastic surgeon did that, but then why did he stop there? Like, and then why did he go up? And then, like, why didn't you just come across? Like, I have so many questions about that. And then there was somebody else that said, commented and said, "Oh my God, it looks like this dude literally did he said, what did bro do? A face dive on a hand grenade?" And I'm like, yeah, kind of, maybe. Yeah, so
Sort of.
kind of, yeah, a little bit.
Now,
I kind of drove over it, not
these
necessarily
people are
tripped and
so
fell on it,
shallow,
but
so shallow.
yeah, but my point is, like, I'm so secure in who I am and what I am
It doesn't.
that none of that stuff bothers me, because I've seen over and over. It's been proven to me over and over and over and over and over that it's not about my physical scars, that people are attracted to me on whatever level. Like, I mean, I remember there was a point when I was in the hospital. You can't see it; it's up on the wall and behind me. But I remember I was like, "Oh, I'm never gonna have a girlfriend. I'm never gonna have a family. No one's ever gonna want to date me. No one's blah blah blah. No one's ever gonna hire me. I'm never gonna have a job." Like, I'm literally going down. I'm feeding it myself. I'm creating the story myself. And all of a sudden, I get listed as one of the sexiest man alive in People magazine, and it's like, what? I never would have associated myself as somebody to be sexy. No way.
I
But
mean,
yet,
your story is sexy. You're a sexy motivational speaker, and everything about you, your energy. I mean, men, women, people alike, they'll be attracted to you again for your personality. So for the
yeah,
times
and it's
that it was never told that your personality is just that bright light, well, now you have to come full circle to
yeah,
lose your exterior so you could be told just how attractive you really are, and that's
yeah.
really the truth. Now, are there any particular initiatives or causes related to burn victims or veterans that you're actively supporting or advocating for?
Oh man. So there's a burn survivor organization called the Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, a national organization, incredible organization, a lot of resources. So when I was recovered in the hospital, you see a few of the burn survivors that are in the military, but I didn't see anybody outside of the military facility in the civilian world that looked like us. And I remember the first time I was invited to go to the conference for the Phoenix Society, I walked into the hotel lobby, and I mean, it was like, where do these people come from? And there were people from all over the world that were burned either as children, as teenagers, as adults, whatever, in variety of reasons. And so Phoenix Society is an organization that is incredibly near and dear to my heart, that I've been supporting for a very long time. As far as, like, from a veteran standpoint, there are a lot of organizations, that are out there. I mean, I've sort of kind of narrowed it down. And so for me, like, I end up supporting, like, a smaller organization that's actually here in Texas, and it's called Operation Triage. And their whole focus is, we're going to help those older veterans that a lot of organizations tend to sort of dismiss because they're older, and they think, where are we going to put our resources and energy into them? And this organization encounters Vietnam veterans that are 70, 80 years old, living conditions are horrible, didn't realize that they were actually entitled to benefits and they never received any benefits. And yet this organization goes and helps them fill out all that paperwork so they can get those benefits, helps them fix their homes, helps them do all of these things. So just whatever time they have left on this earth, they can feel that appreciation and they can actually live in some sort of comfort. And so I love that organization. I know every dollar that is donated to that organization goes directly to the services because the staff takes not one salary. They do this as from the kindness of their heart because they're all retired and they're already got their own pensions and good and set. And then also another organization that is really close to me, and I appreciate you allowing me this opportunity to shed some light on that, is A Call to Men. And it's an organization that is essentially out there to sort of break down what they refer to as, kind of pull men outside of the man box. What does it really mean to be a man? This element of being vulnerable, this element of treating women a certain way, of being a voice for women, of being open and inclusive to her emotions, and, sort of setting that example for the next generation. And so, those are three organizations. I used to be really spread thin and do a lot of things for a lot of organizations, and there are a lot of great groups out there. But I could tell you that those three are ones that I pretty frequently connect with and, support.
I love it. You are amazing. You're doing great things, keeping your head up high, and you are really making a huge, huge impact out there within the communities. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure to have this conversation. I hope everyone took something away from this conversation, and, maybe we'll do it again one day.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. We're definitely going to do it again. Guys, definitely check out JR Martinez, Army veteran, burn survivor, actor, motivational speaker. Definitely check him out on the gram at I am JR Martinez. That was our Healthy Minutes segment brought to you by Bice Cucina. Remember, the tests we face in life's journey are not to reveal our weaknesses, but to help us discover our inner strengths. We can only know how strong we truly are when we strive and thrive beyond the challenges we face. All the energy in the universe is evenly present in all places at the same time. We don't get energy, we actually release energy. And the triggering mechanism to release energy, guess what? It's desire. When you have a strong desire to do something, you're always going to have the energy to do it. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Don't move a muscle. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Innovation and Tech segment, today we're featuring my dear friend, Brian J. Esposito, ranked among the world's top 10 CEOs 3 years in a row. He's the founder and CEO of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, an award-winning serial entrepreneur, of course, and business leader. EIE currently consists of over 108 entities, over 200 joint ventures that have been accumulated around the world and proudly operate in over 25 industries. They have an arsenal of IP, technology, products, solutions, and services supported by exceptional management, accounting, compliance, legal, and private security. Today, he joins me in-house to chat about innovation, music, sports, the metaverse, and the disruptive emerging industries, making investors a ton of money. Now, to help you get a sense of how vague the term the metaverse can be, here's an exercise. Mentally replace the phrase the metaverse in a sentence with cyberspace. 90% of the time, the meaning won't substantially change. And that's because the term doesn't really refer to any one specific type of technology, but rather a broad and often speculative shift in how we interact with technology. And in fact, I say that it's entirely possible that the term itself will eventually become just as antiquated, even as if the specific technology it once described becomes commonplace. Now we're going to welcome to the show the amazing Brian Esposito. Before we get started, my friend, welcome to iHeart Radio.
Thank you, Zan. Appreciate being here so much.
Absolutely. So let's chat music, entertainment, and IPXYZ.network. So I went through this IPXYZ, and they are clearly leveraging the power of Web3 to ultimately allow artists control over their music copyrights. And of course, this is going to boost ongoing profits and discover the limitless, really new limitless business opportunities here, because this is where we're headed in this industry. But the problem with the music industry is that more creators and co-creators enter the market each day, and most of them can't sustain their activity. Centralized structures in the music business and data economy lead to hardship and devaluation of IP assets. Creators do not control their own destiny, even though legal framework is in place. And current revenue models are inhibitive to value creation. So tell me, Brian, how is IPXYZ the solution?
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up and that great overview. What we've done with IPXYZ is put the power into the creator's hands. For the first time ever, they're going to have a real dashboard as to where their music is being consumed, how it's being consumed, what country, which region, and actually have full control and ownership of their IP on an hourly real-time basis. We're able to do that because amazing experts in industry leaders such as Stefan Schultz, my co-founder, and John Carras, Thibaut Moore, and these are people that have led digital rights and the evolution of the music industry since the late 90s up until today. Music industry, like many other industries, it really is a relationship-based play. You can't make major moves in banking, some sports, gambling, and music unless you know the right people, get blessed to be able to do things like this. And the timing is now, the power is now. There's over 100 million creators out in the world that are putting music out into the world or some sort of content and IP. There's over 200,000 new IP pieces of music content created each day. Is a massive amount of content. Now, to have a dashboard like this that's not centralized, that's able to cross-platform, because in reality, Sony doesn't talk to Warner, Warner doesn't talk to Universal. Everything is so siloed, and in order to properly value that music and that IP and how it's being consumed, you need something like this. The music industry needs something like this, and we're going to prove that the music industry is completely undervalued because it doesn't know where this music is being consumed and properly monetized. So when these catalogs are being sold for tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, we think there's a lot of money being left on the table. And we're also giving a beautiful tool for independent artists that are going into this field to have all of their IP in one location, to do it right from the beginning, and to have complete ownership of that IP, along with whoever they may have co-written that lyric with or that music with.
I love it. IPXYZ, baby. Let's take it home. And so what you're saying is it's this creator-centric, secure, open platform to protect, manage, and basically monetize all their IP and data, with their peers in real time anywhere in the world. It's fantastic, and that's the kind of disruptive emerging industry technology that I love to hear about. Now let's chat sports, entertainment, and the metaverse. Now, one of the companies in your portfolio is metasportsarena.com, bringing novel capabilities to the traditional ways sports teams and entertainers and brands and fans interact with each other. Another one of my favorites. So Metasport Arena is a company behind Sam Arena, and Sam Arena is the first sports and entertainment Binance blockchain-based metaverse. How long do you think, Brian, it will be before mass adoptions? And are these tech startups generating any real return on investment just yet?
So, great question. When I go into businesses or get behind businesses like Metasport Arena, I always look at the founders, their vision, their experience, and what they're trying to accomplish. And I no longer do anything in the hopes of having a return. We actually build in real life, realistic business models that generate earnings, put businesses on a positive momentum for cash flow and growing from those cash flows. Getting these startups off of this raise money, running out of money, raise money, running out of money hamster wheel, where ultimately they have no more equity left to raise. They're working for their investors, and they lost complete control of their business. What I love about Metasport Arena and their founder, Julian Savat, is an amazing, beautiful person, an incredible story of why he wanted to create this and bring experiences to sick children. Originally, he unfortunately went through an awful situation where his wife was pregnant with twins. He was in the hospital. There was just a bad outcome. One of them had lost their life, but he saw all of these kids in that hospital wing that were looking out their window, and he saw like they're not going to experience life. They're not going to experience great moments in music and sports. So that's when he set off of his other path, working with Formula One and other great industries like European football, to create Metasport Arena. So he had me hooked. Like, what can we do to actually make this viral, realistic, and actually make a difference? And what I love about This play is that anybody can access it from any device. You don't have to have the expensive VR goggles, because that's the biggest hurdle to barrier right now, is how do you experience the metaverse and all these great experiences if you don't have the equipment, or you feel inferior, you don't feel confident with it, you don't know how to use it, and you ultimately give up. So step one, to get what you're saying for mass adoption, you can access it from any desktop, laptop, or mobile device. And then it's building cities around sport. Just like every major city, there's a stadium there, and there's businesses that are thriving, there's restaurants, there's all different types of other experiences around that stadium. And those other businesses have ancillary benefits when there's a show in town, when there's a sporting event. So replicating real life experiences in the metaverse is the first step to getting people to understand it, that it's no different than walking around in real life. The key is, and how I always have to loop it back into real life, people need to drink water, they need to eat real food, and they need to buy real clothes. You can't live in the metaverse 24/7. So how do we enhance experiences for brands in Metasport Arena? How do we engage fan base and have a better experience for that game or that music event? And how do we bring them back something in real life? So that's the loop. It's got to fall back in real life. It's got to enhance the entire model and the experience. And I'm often telling companies, don't throw out that you're in Web3. Don't throw out that you're in a metaverse if you can't properly support it. The communities in that world, they will abandon your brand in real life if you're not actually participating correctly, not necessarily handling over your social media leads and your digital advertising people. They're not necessarily the right people that should handle your brand in the metaverse. You need to go out and cultivate and bring in new talent to handle that segment, because it is an
entirely different world.
Entirely different world.
You said it. And Forbes named the metaverse, in fact, one of the top 10 trends anybody must be ready for in 2023. Global spending on VR AR, the metaverse's foundation technology, is expected to rise from, are you ready, 12 billion, which was the number in 2020, to 73 billion by 2024. Now, because of this, obviously, leaders in industries like gaming and retail and arts and healthcare and blockchain are determining how to position themselves, to your point, as critical players in this emerging ecosystem. And you need to be a critical player, otherwise you lose. So let's chat virtual stacks. Okay, so virtual stacks are digital trading cards verified on blockchain and issued by talented people from various industries on the exchange. And the exchange is the first global exchange for backing talent, essentially, accessible through the Stacks app. And the exchange basically provides people, to my understanding, with the opportunity to fund their own dreams, monetize their popularity, and cultivate a following of loyal fans who can participate in their journey to the top. So fans can buy and sell and trade and collect the digital trading cards through the Stacks app. Now, to my understanding, whether you're a rising star or a superstar, everyone can leverage virtual stacks to create this awesome digital experience that essentially the platform is selling. But people from all passions of life, right, be it athletes and actors or celebrities or musicians or influencers and entrepreneurs, are able to issue their own stacks. But how can one benefit from a stack's ownership as a fan? That's what I want to know.
Great questions. Virtual Stacks is one of my favorite holdings, one of my largest holdings. It's supported and powers Turncoin, which is the first of its kind registered SEC digital security. So we've spent 5 years, $28 million in private strategic capital building this correctly, working with regulatory, and building the business model, which you mentioned is Virtual Stacks. We have the full support of icons as our ambassadors like Patrick Mahomes, Von Miller, Cam Jordan, Drew Brees. We announced Luke Bryan as our music ambassador. And so when you launch a platform like this and you want to do it correctly and do something that's never been done before, you have to make sure you have all the legal blessings across multiple countries to be able to operate. We've achieved that. Then, to answer your question, you need to have credibility and giant reach. And we've achieved that with these great ambassadors that are supporting us and believing us. And they do believe, and they've vocalized it, that this is the future of how you enhance and empower rising stars. So if you are a Mahomes, it's a great new liquidity event, new revenue stream for you to connect to your fan base. You have given the opportunity to hold that virtual trading card, to have a closer proximity, other utilities and perks, and also benefit in the upside in the supply and demand of his career to continue to excel and people to want more and more of him, i.e. more and more ownership of those virtual stacks. Therefore, the share price should go up, or that virtual stacks trading card should go off. Now, why I got involved and what I loved about it is what you were talking about the amateurs and novices in the world. To me, I look at it like it's a GoFundMe and a person going public in the same regulated exchange platform where they can issue virtual trading cards of themselves. So if they're not yet a Patrick Mahomes, but they want to be the next Mahomes and they're in high school, they can issue virtual trading cards to their local community, their fan base, their friends, their family, coaches, teachers, and say, hey, back me, support me. I am going to continue to go after my career and dreams, and I'm not going to give up on it. And I need your financial support. So people that are backing them, they're part of their journey now. They're actually with them. Rather than just liking a post that they put on Instagram or seeing a great YouTube clip of them, they can actually be part of their journey. And as that player's popularity increases and their demand increases, the price of that virtual trading card would increase because more and more people want it. So as you're backing people and scouting people and giving people the opportunity to succeed, you actually can have a financial upside if they make it and when they make it. And this applies to every aspect of life. You want to be the next Billy Joel and be the greatest piano player, but you got no money for a keyboard or lessons, you throw some virtual stacks into our platform and bring in some money. You want to be the next Derek Jeter, you have no money for a mitt, same exact model. You just
Brilliant.
go, and you convert likes into dollars.
Brilliant. Now, it's got me thinking so many more questions, but I only have like 4 minutes left. So now I'm going to chat revenue streams that you're just obviously talking about, these incredible revenue streams, right? So everyone is talking about how celebrities are jumping on the blockchain, metaverse, crypto world, NFT, whatnot. But some say beware. They say the metaverse introduces innovative ways for musicians, of course, to monetize their work, from virtual merchandise to NFTs and in-world sponsorships. And these new revenue streams, to your point, they supplement traditional income sources and they help artists really achieve financial sustainability in this ever-changing industry landscape. And it's really ever-changing. Now, while the support from numerous A-list celebrities expedited the NFT boom in 2021 and 2022, some promoted unvetted projects to fans without knowing if they were legitimate or scams. And they ended up in a ton of heat. Often this is referred to as NFT shilling. Now, we clearly need more regulation here, Brian. What do you say to this?
I mean, it's great that the foundation was based. I mean, I think the boom happened for multiple reasons. There was a global shutdown, so people were thriving to do something. So that was a big reason why that exploded so quickly, and those communities were built so quickly because people were trapped in their home. So you had that happening, which made a huge impact into the industry. Secondly, a lot of talent. And I talked about this even when Kim Kardashian got into some heat about her backing one of those tokens or those cryptocurrencies. It's not their fault. It goes into their management. They don't have the right legal advocates that understand this space. So a lot of celebrities got pushed into an opportunity where they're taking the heat, but it really was not their fault. There was a movement happening. There was excitement. There was no games going on. There was no concerts being played. There was no real life events. So this was another way for these celebrities or icons to be able to connect with their fan base and, more importantly, keep bringing them money because they tend to have expensive lifestyles and they don't want to see the spout stop spitting out water. So that's what happened. But going forward, which is why I always surround myself with the proper legal accounting and compliance, dear friend and colleague, and even our chief legal officer at Virtual Stacks and Turncoin, Mr. Roel Campos, previous commissioner of the SEC. There's always opportunities out there. Just be smart about it. Ask questions, and don't feel stupid if you don't know the answer or you don't want to ask the question. Surround yourself with people that understand what you can and cannot do. Never operate in a gray area and think you can just throw your hands up and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." It's enough education. There's enough experience. There's enough literature out there. If something's a security, it's pretty black and white. If it generates some kind of return, it's an asset base. It's backed by something. Very obvious what's a security and what is not. Now, I love the NFT idea. I love what it can do for fan bases and a close proximity to maybe a celebrity or an icon, but it's got to provide real value. It's got to provide some sort of real utility that gives it something of substance. And all access pass to maybe something, that's noise. That didn't have legs, as we saw, which is why there's been a little bit of a correction. But going forward, the model works. The technology is fantastic as far as blockchain and what you can do with these assets and in a digital asset environment. Just make sure you actually provide real value. Otherwise, the industry will fall on its face. We need every project that's going into the market to succeed as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. No more FTXs. The bad apples need to stay away. And interesting, because if you talk about shilling, right, the word, it's actually a name of currency from the old world English coinage from like the 17th and 18th centuries. And shill is also a word used in casinos for it's been used for forever, and it's interpreted to mean like stooge. And shilling sometimes has like a bad rap to it, as the terms associated with misleading or disrupting a game, in a casino. But it's used for a gambler who plays using the casino's money in order to keep the games going when there's not sufficient players, which is an interesting analogy to the whole ecosystem of NFTs and needing mass adoptions and needing sufficient players. But I think, to your point, they did it blindly, not knowing the repercussions. And the SEC finally woke up, and the regulators said, hey, take a step back, because we need to, check some boxes here and dot some I's and cross some T's properly before we proceed. And I think mass adoption and regulation are key. Now, we have 2 minutes left. What disruptive emerging industries are you attracted to, per se, Brian? And as a CEO, how important is balancing sustainability, profitability, and adaptability within a company?
Oh, they're all equally as important. I don't get involved in, I hear unicorn, I go deaf. I think if you want to be in business, you got to have revenues. Let's go back to an old school, silly model. And if you want to stay in business, you got to be profitable. I believe bubbles burst because of nonsense valuations. You look at any high-flying unicorn that IPOs, the market's never stupid. It tends to get corrected, and that IPO price tends to get whacked to a more realistic level. But going forward, I've been obsessed with communication protocols and building wireless networks ever since the Twin Towers went down, and I saw how important Nextel was. From that moment, I said there needs to always be another alternative way to connect, communicate, and locate. So from there, I got to build amazing wireless networks, connecting people that didn't rely on Wi-Fi or cellular. Nodal, one of my most coveted holdings, built the world's largest wireless network, connecting billions of IoT devices around the world. And then MetaLife, amazing company I'm honored to co-found with Henry Wang. Henry actually coined Web3 back in 2003.
Yep.
And we're connecting devices to parts of the world that have never had traditional networks, such as cellular or Wi-Fi base stations. So we're connecting the unconnected, and we're banking the unbanked, and that's billions of people. So you look at everything that I've briefly talked about, you can see the master plan here of connecting the world on a network that's unreliant of expensive cellular or wireless connection or infrastructure. You're building content such as music IP at IPXYZ. You're distributing that content to not only first world countries, but now second world and third world countries, where these people are actually walking around with a mobile device, but they live in a hut. So,
exactly. Yeah, because you have 1.7 billion people in this world that are unbanked and or underbanked, but they all have a smartphone.
That's right.
And that smartphone, they can liquefy their cryptocurrency into fiat currency. They can be part of the world the world conference. They could move mountains at this point. They can even get microloans. I mean, the world is moving pretty fast right now. So we are out of time. Brian, it was such a pleasure chatting with you. You are amazing.
Trying to keep up with you, but I appreciate the kind words.
Well, I found my twin. Definitely check out Brian and all his amazing companies. You can head directly on his website at EIE.rocks. It's Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. He's CEO and founder. You can find him all over social media at Brian J. Esposito, Brian_J Esposito, and definitely head to virtualstacks.com, or you can check out IPXYZ.network. Now listen, guys, the metaverse provides global reach and accessibility. Gone are the days when geographical barriers limited musicians from performing for a diverse audience. The metaverse allows artists to host virtual concerts and events that transcend borders, attracting fans from every corner of the world. This global reach expands an artist's fan base and generates revenue through ticket sales, virtual merchandise, and just so much more. Also, the metaverse provides a level playing field for independent and emerging artists to really showcase their work, bypassing traditional gatekeepers like record labels and talent agents. This empowers musicians to take control of their careers, engage with fans directly, and cultivate their unique brand identity. And that's what this is all about. That was our Innovation and Tech segment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our culinary and wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, I've transported myself all the way to Bice Cucina, and I'm joined by Rich Valdez. He and I are going to be chatting about the latest trends, the food that we really love when we sit down and break bread, and more importantly, what weighs heavy on his heart as a New Yorker. You definitely don't want to miss it. We are here in Bice Cucina, and we are talking to my incredible friend, Rich Valdez. And he is not just anybody. He is the voice of Hispanic conservatives. Let me tell you, people, he is the #1 host on Cumulus Media, and he is by far the best replacement for at least what I would like to consider the millennial voice. And he has replaced Larry King, and he's incredible. And he's here with me today at Bice Cucina live at Midtown Manhattan. And we're talking about the amazing, absolutely amazing dishes Bice Cucina has to offer, including the amazing cocktails right here, summer in the city. Rich Valdez, tell me right now, we have a lot of dishes going on this table. We have halibut, we have pizza, we have a scallop, spaghettini. Talk to me about what your favorite dish is here at Bice Cucina.
So the answer is yes, right? Number one, we're going to start off with yes. I really like food. The scallops were absolutely delicious. I've been staring at the bread. I haven't gone in on the bread yet. Now, I've been looking at this pizza. I'm going to have it in a moment, but I didn't want to while we were talking. The Skinny Girls are fantastic. And I'm talking about the drinks, folks, the drinks. Skinny Girl drinks.
Every time I invite Rich to any segment, he eats and he has what to say about what's going on. So, Rich Valdez, I want to hear from you today, right now. What weighs heavy on your chest as a New Yorker?
You know, as a New Yorker, I think we're part of the fabric of America. And part of what's happening right now in America is we're seeing our system of justice being turned upside down. Right? You've got an ex-president that's being, in my opinion, unfairly persecuted and prosecuted, while the sitting president is getting a pass and skating by. His son is the bag man collecting money. There's informants, rats, actual rats saying those guys have been collecting bribes. I mean, there's just way too much smoke for anybody to say, let's turn a blind eye. I think we need to look at these things. We need investigations. I think Congress needs to be a little more aggressive. And I think the Department of Justice needs to say, hey, let's take a look at these things. They can't just say it's political. No, it's time for them to do their job.
I agree, 100%. And the best way to chop this up, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you are left or right, whether you are LGBTQ or LGBTQ plus IA, whatever you are. I don't know, there's a lot of labels out there.
Or if you're just hungry.
Yeah. Come to Bice Cucina and chop it up and talk with your friends about what you agree and don't disagree on. And at the end of the day, you come here and you make sure that you eat like a king and a queen, because that's what we do here at Bice Cucina in Midtown Manhattan. Thank you so much for listening to us. Now, by the way, before I sign off, in my last 30 seconds of commentary, I'm going to say that I just tried the scallops, and the scallops have a little spaghettini that they come with. I know the owner. And I asked him, I said, Peter, how do you get your dishes so rich? And you know what he said to me? Olive oil. At the end of every dish, we just have an olive oil reduction that we infuse in everything. And cold olive oil, if you don't know it, is the gateway to youth. It literally takes away all of your wrinkles, cleans out your you-know-what system, and we all know that fecal fat contributes to actual real fat. So we want to make sure that we're blowing that hole out the door the right way. And what I'm saying to you is that I do think of this stuff as a millennial mom. I come and I eat and I think about the foods that will make me look and feel good at the end of my day. And when I come to Bice Cucina, I know that Peter Rimares, by the way, who's Portuguese, you know, Mediterranean, we're talking about old school Mediterranean mentality. They bring in the fresh produce, the fresh product, and non-GMO, and more importantly, no dyes in any of their foods. They are 100% whole, organic, homegrown, actual New Yorkers who want to make sure that the food that they give, not only just the tourism that comes here, but the actual New Yorkers that come to New York City are of the best of the best. Not about NGOs. We're not about talking about the things that contribute to the carcinogens in your food pyramid. This is actual stuff that makes it real. So please head down to Bice Cucina. That was the Culinary and Wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710wor.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform 24/7. You could head directly to our channel there at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.